knee base runners, let's go.
Welcome in, Jason and Max. Glad to have you guys tonight.
Thank you.
David.
Glad to be here.
This is one of the things we really wanted to do when we started this podcast was have a parent's perspective looking back. And Jason, the dad in today's episode, has gone all the way through travel ball with you, Max. And I think it's going to be really great to hear his perspective. And you as a player, for those who didn't read your bio, you're a senior at Olathe West and committed to play baseball at Oklahoma State University. So go Pokes. I'm always a fan of the player more than I am the school, so I'm going to be following you because I've known you for a long time, and I'm excited to watch your career take even another step. But we can hear about your perspective as a player while you and your dad are here together. I think it's going to be a really, really good hour or so that we're together. So thanks again for coming along, and let's just start with this one for you, Max. What is your first memory of baseball? How did you get into it? What made you want to sign up and play? And what was your first, how did you get into the game?
Oh, well, I got into the game because my brother started before me, and just seeing him have all that fun at OT Park and watching his practices just made me want to play. I'd say I started really early. I don't know quite how old, but it's all I remember is just baseball.
You know, there's been some of our guests on here that have said I was 4 years old and I remember waiting to play catch with my dad every day. So there's that kind of kid, and being the younger kid, the ballpark rack. You know, you were playing all around the fields while your brother was playing on the field.
Yeah,
we see those kids every week too, right? So you were one of those. You were surrounded by the game, the smell of the game, and that's just super cool. Jason, what do you remember about getting your boys signed up?
Well, it goes back a little bit farther than 4 for me. Max used to pick up anything in the living room when he was still in diapers and just throw it at me as hard as he could. It didn't matter if it was the remote control. I switched him over to this knit ball because it didn't hurt so much, but he's basically been throwing things since he was a toddler. Got him started in the T-ball, typical stuff, and from there it just kind of took off. A lot of neat, extra young youth experiences. One, he actually got to play a tournament for a weekend on his brother's team, and that was kind of cool to see both the boys in the same uniform. One weekend only. So.
And what age group was that?
Oh boy,
I think I was about 11.
Yeah, 10 or 11.
Okay. The difference in the boys?
Yeah, there's a pretty big difference.
I mean, you guys age-wise are different?
Yeah, there's 2 years in between us.
2 years. So you were playing 2 years up. Yeah. That's something. I just think how everyone gets into the game is interesting, but it always starts with, to me, after talking to so many people, they don't know why, they just love playing. You know, whether that was in their yard or on a team or something just clicked with them, and you know, throwing stuff at your dad. That's a sign you were going to be a pitcher for sure. So your travel ball experience, you get done with T-ball and you get into travel ball. Were you trying out? Were you asked to play teams? Just there's a lot of parents out here that, you know, have 7, 8-year-old kids. This is their first year. I think maybe you know, if you could go back and kind of, I know it's been a while, Max, but what do you remember about your first couple of teams you were on? Maybe the first game you were on. And I asked that because my son's 12, so he remembers back to his first travel game because he remembers his best friend was pitching and he threw a ball. And that's all he remembers from the very first game. But memories are ingrained, right?
Yeah.
And he's always going to remember it. And he's always going to nudge his buddy Rowan and be like, "You threw a ball on the very first game ever." They're still playing together to this day.
Awesome.
What do you remember from your first time going out onto the travel ball world? Because it's a little loud and scary for kids.
Well, let's bring it back to machine pitch. I'm very grateful that I've had all these wonderful coaches that just like to push me and keep it going, and I think that really helped me get through.
Yeah. So, at what age did you start pitching yourself? Was that 9, 10, 9?
Yeah, just about
8,
Mhm.
8, 9.
9, yeah.
Some 8-year-olds pitch, yeah, more advanced
Yeah.
teams. And if you could tell the listeners, shout out to your team because I know you had a great youth experience. Who was your travel team at the 8 to 12, 13 age?
I
What
was
was
with
that?
the Kansas City Crush.
Okay, well known, I
Yeah,
believe. Yeah,
nice
well,
local team.
yeah, most local team. And
Yeah.
how much did you guys travel when you were younger, Jason? When you guys were, Max was in 9, 10, 11. Were you guys traveling outside of Kansas City, or were there enough tournaments you didn't do that? Or what were your thoughts?
Yeah, we did. Coach Schwer, lifelong friend of ours. Actually, they share the same birthday, so Max and Coach Schwer are going to be connected forever. Uh, the older they got, the more we travel, but just regionally, really, with the Crush. Omaha, a lot of times down in that state of yours, Arkansas, we played great baseball and had fun down in
Yeah,
Fayetteville, didn't we? Oklahoma City, so kind of the region, and he didn't really start the full on big traveling until he was the summer before high school. Really, we really hit the road hard.
yeah. Once I joined the KC Crusaders is when I really started to do that national travel ball, and I'm grateful that I got the chance to go out there and play.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's go back to 8 to 12U. I think we got a big segment of parents out there listening. I always ask this question with players that I've talked with that have gone on to do college or college and beyond. When did you know that you had a talent, Max? Was there a time when you go, okay, I'm better?
Um, Geez, I'd probably say towards the end of like the KC Crush. I feel like that's when I really started to like gain a lot of velo throughout the year and really realize that I can pitch.
That's 11, 12 ish,
Yep.
probably age time. Yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where my team is right now. It's the 12U, and it's just fun to watch. I always tell the coaches every year, like, and the players are responsible for doing off-season work. When we get back together, I'm like, one or two kids is going to surprise me, and I don't know who it's going to be, but it's just called life development, and they all do it at different times, and sure enough, there's one particular kid that's got an uptick and his curveball spinning, and we're like, oh, juicy. So, but last year he didn't pitch hardly at all. It's a fun age and development age. About 12, I can see that. What other positions did you play, Max?
For high school, I'm also playing some third.
And for youth.
Oh, for youth.
Yeah, let's stay with youth.
Oh, yeah. I played outfield when I was on the Crush, and I also pitched as
And
well.
catcher.
I played a little catcher in early days.
Mm-hmm.
That's music to my ears. I'm a huge fan of outfield. Big believer that it's crazy important. And by the time you get to 11 and 12 and you're playing AAA or major, it's deadly important. It's not a throwaway position. So that's kind of music to my ears. That, and I had no choice with my son because he's left-handed. He's shorter than our first baseman, who's also left-handed, so that left him center field. So I put a lot of value in outfield. Did you play other sports growing up, Max? When you were playing baseball, did you play other things?
I did. I was really, really big into basketball. If I wasn't playing basketball, I'd definitely be a basketball player. But I also played a little bit of football. I played some flag football. But I made it up to about middle school, and then I called it for basketball.
Can you put into words what it was at that age that made you realize baseball where you wanted to go?
I mean, it was just the dedication, how I had to go, show up every day, and realize that I don't have all this time for basketball, and I just need to focus on baseball.
So one thing that we're working on our team with is uh, not being so upset in the result at 11 and 12. And oh my God, there's still a little red eye every once in a while. They're not boohooing, but they're upset when things don't go their way. And I think they feel like they're letting the team down or letting their parents down. It's a team failure. We talk about it all the time. They're getting better. Looking back, what would you tell an 11 or 12-year-old about being mentally tough and dealing with the failure of baseball, knowing that you're going to fail more than you succeed. If I had my group of kids right here in front of you tonight, Max, what would you tell them?
I mean, something that I've been told all throughout my life is just have fun during the game. It's a game. The result is just what happened in the past, and you just got to focus on what's going to go in the future. Just keep playing the game.
Yeah, it's hard for some kids more than others, but we're working really hard with them. So, we're going to come to Kansas City and travel this year. And if you're not playing, I'm going to have you come talk to my team. Right?
All right, that sounds good.
We'll be
They
there.
really, 11, 12-year-olds, they love it. I had a local high school player come last year, talk to them, and, they couldn't hear a pin drop listening, and then I try to talk to them, and they're telling, so, they do look up to you guys. So, one. Jason, going back to travel ball, you weren't one of those crazy travel ball players.
So I started as one.
You know what I'm talking about.
I started out as one, and then I learned, and then you get older and you realize, hey, maybe pounding on the chain link fence isn't probably the best way to go about a Sunday morning. And
yeah, so were you the guy? Were you behind home plate on the fence? Were you down the fence line trying to walk it off, or were you in the stands that would have to leave every couple of minutes because you got upset? Which guy were you?
No, in fact, I never got tossed except for this last season. I got tossed out of one of my daughter's softball games, but that train was on the tracks long before I got to the field. Okay. I never got tossed from any baseball games, and I guess I'm allowed anywhere in between the home plate and the guy that's storming around the outfield. I can kind of range around in between there. But I always tried to sit out of his eye when he was younger.
Yeah.
And that was probably more for me thinking. I don't think he even noticed I was there. Now it doesn't matter. I can sit right behind home plate. He just throws. So.
Yeah,
and I don't get kicked out.
Yeah, no, I'm just joking about getting kicked out. But it's it's tough as parents. I see it out there, and it's easy to point a finger and go, "Man, look at that parent." But at the same time, you want the best for your kid. You don't want bad to happen. It's unfair. It's really people get wound up out there really quickly. Really quickly. And me being coach, I really don't have time to deal with it unless I'm getting wound up with the other coach or the umpire or something. But I try not to do that either. It's just I wanted your perspective on Jason a little bit deeper on what going back would you give advice to parents, because this is an advice segment because you guys have made it. Listen, there's 400 in 2024. There was 473,000 high school players. Okay, that was last year. There's 473,000 high school players. Just over 1% playing D1 baseball on an average. So, not that everybody listening to this is going to take little Timmy all the way to D1, but I think you do have a great perspective, and you've obviously raised a great son, and you've done some things right to get him to here. So, what would you say to parents who are getting into this at 8, 9, 10, maybe for the first time they're coming out here this very spring? What's your advice in how to handle a kid? Just everything that's around it. You know what I'm talking about. You can be as open-ended with this question as you want.
David, I think that's probably the best question I've been asked since I've been a baseball parent. I would say, first of all, find a team that's culture fits your family and your players' hunger to play. And that'll change. It may increase or decrease over the years, but find a good cultural fit with really good coaching and really good sports staff. Now, we happen to have, when they were younger, how many dads coaching? 6?
Yeah, 6.
And first of all, the team he was on was a unicorn in the dark. The Crush was amazing because it was a team that essentially formed in a cul-de-sac and actually got to a national ranking level. Okay. That by the time we were starting to see the end of the Crush years, we were starting to play teams in Oklahoma, Texas, that they were starting to already do the big show stuff, flying kids in and all that. And these guys are playing with kids in the same zip code. So that was a huge cultural thing for us. We were always extremely well coached, welcomed, but everybody needs to know their role. If you're a parent and you're not on the field, sit down. Don't drink too many snow cones. Have a good time. Okay. Enjoy your kids playing baseball because you can get wrapped up in it real quick. I'm not a coach. I'm not qualified. I was the DJ, the guy that annoyed everybody else at the park because my music was louder. That was my job. I did it and had a blast. When it comes to selecting coaches, you have to listen to what they say and also watch what they do, inspect what you expect. Because every youth baseball coach will say, there's no way I'm going to overthrow your son. There's no way I'm going to overthrow, make your daughter catch 2 games in a row, whatever that might be. That has to be a truth, and it has to be a strategy for the health of the team and for the player. Max has never, not once, been overpitched. I don't care if it's Sunday championship game. If it was time, it was time. Health and happiness are the 2 most important things about youth, the young youth baseball, in my opinion.
100%.
Yeah, no, that is. You're speaking of language.
Yeah.
The team started out with 1 grade school. We've had to branch out a little bit, but these kids have been friends since they were 6 years old. And, we're doing it on our pace. But you talked about overpitching. I'm so incredibly glad to hear that. And you're going to be so incredibly frustrated to hear what I experienced this weekend. It was the first weekend of play that our team didn't play. But I went out to watch a friend of my son's. We went out. We said, hey, dude, let's go. Yeah, let's go out there, grab a dog, go watch him. Somebody comes up and goes, did you hear what such and such team just did this morning? I said, there's no time. They pitched the kid, 12-year-old, first tournament, first inning, at the first weekend, 60 pitches in the first inning. Mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. We've had arm professionals on here, 30's the max. If you do 31 or 2 and you get out of the inning, okay, fine. But 30 should be your barometer for an inning. 60 pitches. That's not productive pitches anyway, by the way. Shocker, news alert, they weren't winning.
What?
The next inning, the second inning, he pitches the kid, another kid, puts him in 47 pitches in the inning. Finally took him out because he only had 2 outs. I'm telling you, this stuff happens more than you think, and it's mind-blowing. But you asked this guy to describe his team to anybody, and I've heard it. Oh, I care about the kids. It's all about the kids. But it's not. Because there's no reason that you're putting a kid out there. You're putting like 60 pitches for yourself out there because you don't have anybody else. So I'm really glad to hear you say that. I think that needs to be hammered home. What you just said it perfect. What coaches say they do and what coaches do. Find out. Guys, if you're new to travel ball out there, anybody's box score is open on Game Changer. You may not be able to watch their videos, but you can go to their box scores, and if you want to do a little research, you can verify what I just said. A little work. So I'm really glad you guys had a good. Well, you can tell I'm a little worked up about that. I just hate that it happens. I really do. And we don't.
All the conscientious parents and coaches do hate it, and then I understand it. We understand it because we play tournaments nearly every weekend, so you've got a short recovery. And the problem that other teams was having is they'd flat run out of pitching. Now, when these guys were little, every kid, top to bottom, pitched. Okay? That helped us get to Sunday, where you could start to formulate who's a starter, who's a closer, kind of work the kids that were really into pitching. But everybody could get up off that bench and pitch, which is another unique and rare thing, I understand. Any coach would probably give half their equipment to have one extra pitcher on Sunday, right? But right. At what cost? I have shelves and shelves of pot metal trophies that I'm going to melt down and make into something good. None of them are worth an injury.
Yeah. We're on the same page. We don't need to double preach to the audience, but I'm just so happy to hear that you had that experience. It's not worth. I don't feel I've ever needed to win a game to feel better about myself. So I want the kids to grow. So this is interesting, Max. We had kind of a subpar, and part of it was a fall. some part of it was because we were just trying to pitch a lot of extra kids to get them ready. We do practice all 10 of our players pitching, probably 8, but 10 could if they had to. And we sat down and we said, "Hey guys, we gotta focus in. What do you guys want to get out of baseball?" And these kids are 12. They just finished fall at 12. They still have all of spring. Some of them are 11. Network. And I said, "How many of you want to play high school baseball?" They all raised their hand. I said, "Okay. Well, if that's true, then we're going to have to change something. You're going to have to make baseball part of your life." Now, most of them took lessons, but we need to do a little more at home. And we need to start thinking about our bodies a little bit, too. It's never too early. You're 2 years out. If you guys want to do it, just go down. At what point did you start thinking about playing high school baseball? And when did you start working on your body? I'm talking, we're doing stuff like box jumps, pull-ups, push-ups, explosion type things. If there's any weight at all, it's little bitty curls. It's nothing crazy. And then we're really hammering in the nutrition, the protein shakes. You know, we're big on Fairlife owes me a lot of money. They should probably sponsor this podcast. When did you start kind of getting that next level of like, I'm going to go nutrition, I'm going to go the extra work because I got to go to high school? Tell me about that.
Right, staying healthy is definitely the biggest way to keep playing the game. I realized during the Crush, once again, we had amazing coaches that knew nutrition, knew how to stay healthy, keep your arm healthy. And we would have workouts, we would do arm care every practice, we would have stuff to do at home. It's just keeping your arm safe doesn't stop. Once you do, you're prone to getting hurt.
Yeah. How do you look at throwing year round? I know not off the mound with max effort, but how do you throw year round at your age? For listeners again, he's 17, 18, I don't know what you are. Senior in high school. Are you
Junior.
Junior? You're a junior?
I am.
Oh my God, I thought you were senior. Sorry about that. You're just getting so big, man. I mean, only studs commit to Oklahoma State when they're a junior. Come on, man. That's impressive. All right. So at your age, as a junior, how are you throwing year round? How do you look at that? Because I know that's the great question. Do I need a break? You know, parents are like, how much do they need to throw? What kind of throw? Is it long toss? It's obviously not off the mound year round, but there's some varying opinions on that. What's your take?
I mean, yeah, definitely keeping your arm moving throughout the year. Even just the little, like, go outside and get a good game of catch in. Don't go long toss, just keeping it moving. And then once you're in season, just keeping your stamina up, making sure you're going in and just throwing a little bit in between.
Yeah, I think there's a view out there because of the other side of it. You know, there's the guy who throws the kid 60, but there's the other side where people go, well, you need to shut it down and not throw for the next 3 or 4 months. And I don't really think that's the case, especially as you get a little bit older. You need to work your arm to get strength in your arm. I think what they get confused on, just to be my opinion and what I've talked to people about, is don't max it out don't pitch in 8,000 showcase tournaments and don't go off the mound year round. Give yourself some rest from the mound, but keep your arm, like you said, moving. So
Right.
is that what you would agree with and what you've been taught as well?
Yeah, I mean, a good maybe 1 or 2 week break from throwing is always good. You don't need to be thrown every single day of the year.
Yeah, but I think there's some parents that say, "Well, I need to take about 3 months off." And I don't
Yeah,
think
that's a little too much.
we don't need to be doing that at
Well,
11 or 12. Or your opinion, Jason?
yeah, the thing is with those parents, David, is they're probably reading what is MLB Pitch Smart. What's the guideline, the criteria? I think it's called MLB Pitch Smart, which is out there. You can Google it. It's basically they're the thought leaders on the 3-month shutdown, which I don't think is a terribly bad idea as long as you're staying physically fit. But I think it's going to kind of come down to the player. I haven't talked to a guy yet that's actually shut down for 3 months up until this kind of middle high school level, because they're playing catch with the football. They're out playing pickup basketball. You know, they're staying active. But when it comes down to after you're done with the fall tournament, you probably go a couple months without really until winter starts up at Premier. Then you go and then he goes into the preseason warm up per se. There's a good couple months of very, very light arm activity, we should say.
Basically just arm care.
Arm care.
Arm care. And that's so neat because it's all down here too, right? There's arm care specialists now, right? And they have their own programs, and there's competing ones down here. They're I just had a kid our team go to one last week. His arm was getting a little weak elbow right here. We weren't, he's growing. These kids are growing.
Oh.
And it's like, dude, just wait 2 weeks and your bones will catch up to the rest of your body and you'll be good. But the arm specialist is quite a thing these days. I'm glad to hear that. Max, you probably take a lot of this for granted, man. When I was growing up, I'm the story of the guy, the Little League coach showed up with the Army bag, and inside it was 4 batting helmets, some catcher's gear, and 2 crappy bats and some used balls, and that was it. And you guys got all this education and great parents to provide you all this support. I know it would have been great to play baseball the way they do now. So
yeah, I'm very grateful.
Yes.
So because of that kind of leads me to this. I mean, before we jump in, and I know you and your dad got some stories to tell from 14, 15 on. You guys did a lot of traveling, some more bonding together. But your early years, do you ever think back, and your mom, Amy, do you ever think back about what they've given to you? And how do you feel about it?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Just how do you feel about your parents and everything that they gave you? Time, money, everything. They invested in you. And travel ball parents do invest in their children. I just curious about it from a child's perspective on that. And I say child perspective, you're
Yeah, I'm super grateful. I almost feel bad for them how many times they have to take me on these trips, but no, I'll always be grateful for what they do to me and who they surround me with and just everything they do for me. It's great.
We're going to go on to some other stuff. What's the 8 to 12 range, 8 to 13 range? Is there one story that's interesting for people to hear? That comes to your memory from those experiences. Something happened in a hotel, something that happened with your buddy on or off the field, something with your parents, without your parents, whatever. I mean, there's got to be one good story. I know
Oh, hotel stories are always good. If I had to pick one, so on the Crush, after every tournament that we won, we would always go to this restaurant called the Austins, and we would just hang out there for the rest of the night, and that's probably the biggest memory I have from when I'm younger.
It doesn't need to be anything crazy. We tell our boys all the time because we're similar, not we're AAA, we're not major, like we're probably not as good as your team was, but we have some similar paths. It sounds like, and our kids have grown up together, and we tell them all the time, you guys, you're gonna be in each other's wedding, probably. You guys spend so much time together, such good friends, and they're always going to be friends. They got each other's backs at school. It's they're a little gang, They wear the Dodgers stuff, the practice jerseys at school and stuff, and everybody knows who the Dodgers are. Sounds to me like you had a very similar experience. If your memories just being with everybody at a place after a win, that's really cool. And I think that says everything you would ever want to know about the Crush without even getting anything else. So that's cool. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so tell me about something.
We still. Oh, I'm sorry, David. I was going to say, and we still do it to this day. I just got together with a bunch of Crush dads the other night. So, if you're out there looking for it, you can really make some lifelong friends through the baseball thing.
And that's why we have both of you on, I guess, too. I mean, Jason, what's your memory from those early years?
I remember learning a lot about baseball. My high school team didn't have a baseball team. Or my high school didn't have a baseball team. So I never played. I played in the summer like you in jeans, come home from doing chores or whatever, and then you'd go play baseball. And then your parents did not go. That was like free babysitting back then. Parents,
that's right.
Yeah, they weren't going to go out and sit in the middle of a field and watch me try to play baseball. No. But looking back at the Crush, we're all blessed to have been to have met and keep as friends That's not always easy through sports and the challenges and the pressure and the competition. But really to watch these kids grow up, and some of which Max plays against today, some have gone on to play basketball, some have quit sports and gotten into music, but the best thing is that they'll always have that memory to center on. If I run into anybody, we'll sit down and talk for 20, 30 minutes just because we basically lived our lives very, very together for about 5 straight years with hardly a break, because these guys worked all year too. So it was it was awesome.
A lot of memories.
A lot of memories.
A lot of
Crushing
memories.
Crusaders were awesome too. That was his last pre-high school. We had a blast.
Yeah, it's we look back at all of our pictures on our phones, and it's this kid's birthday party was all the daughters were there. This guy, it's just gatherings. It was more than baseball has been. I think it will continue to be.
Yes.
So I was on you earlier, Max. I've set our kids down. They also go to play ball. It's a couple of years from tryouts. It's never too early to get started. We're working on all kinds of stuff. We're working now on handshakes at practice. And what I mean by that is they're shaking my hand like they don't know me and I'm a coach in the future every practice now, every Sunday practice anyway. That's just how I make it a thing. We have a little talk at the end of every practice and we go over something besides just drills and stuff. We talk about life or any Jackie Robinson, whatever, Jim Abbott. We talk about things. And one of the things I'm doing is I'm making them shake my hand, look me in the eye, tell me, hey, I'm Kenny Carroll. Nice to meet you, coach. And they have to pretend they never met me. We're trying to do those things. I'm trying to do everything I can to prepare these kids when they walk up there that they stand out. Now, I tell them, you got to be good. You can't be bad like that. All the other things that go along with it, what would your suggestion be? A tip to, 12, 13-year-olds that are a year and a half out, maybe 2, that want to try out for the high school baseball team. What do they need to be thinking about? What do they need to be doing? How they need to approach their experience so that they have an opportunity?
Yeah, standing out is a big part, but not everyone has the ability to do that. So what I would say is just go in there with a just blank mind. Don't try to compare yourself to anyone else and just do what you can do. It's just you out there.
Well, one of the reasons we're working really hard on the mental aspect right now, it's not just we can win games at 12. I want them to be second nature when they're in. This is what they told me they wanted, so this is how I'm preparing. But they make an error, they're in line in a tryout. I know you've got different stations and doing things. I don't want there to even be a hesitation of a bad body language. It's got to be second nature. You got to be the guy that makes. I told them the other day. I said I almost hope that the best thing that could happen for you in a tryout in the future is if you make an error during one of the drills, and the coach can't tell that you made an error, and you just fist bump the next guy in line and told him to go get it. Because you're telling the competitor, I ain't even worried about you. Let's go. You're going to be my teammate. Let's go. I need you. That's really hard to make them all do it. But talk about the mental aspect and the mental maturity that they need during the tryout years. Because what are you when you try out? It depends on where you are in your grade. But 14 years old.
13, 14.
So
when I was young, my dad always told me to just stay stone cold out on the mound, and that kind of just stuck with me throughout my baseball career. And I think every kid should just think that, because you can't show emotion on the baseball field.
Yeah, no, you can't, because as soon as you do, when we see it, when it happens to the other team, we're like, pitcher's crying. Oh, it's over.
Yeah.
Let's go, And you're not being mean to the kid, but you're like, oh, we got it. You can't let the other team know. Hey, side note, squirrel moment, Max. How do you calm yourself on the mound? I've had one of our former guests on here talk about how they actually found a piece of grass and then just zoned out versus having thought in your head, an affirmation or whatever. Do you talk to yourself or do you zone out when you really need to get locked in on the mound? What do you do?
Yeah, no, the worst thing you can do is definitely rush. So what I like to do is just take a few steps off the mound, just play with the rosin, and just think about how I'm just going to do better. Just think about what I can do.
You're not trying to psych yourself up with some crazy internal talk or anything. You're getting away
No.
from it, and you're just saying, okay, let's
Yep,
breathe
just
this
do what
thing
I can
out.
do. If I overhype myself, pitch won't look pretty.
Yeah. The other thing that we're working on too with our kids, which we always have, but especially now, we really want to work on our breathing while pitching. And I know we've talked about it since they were not pitching, but we really, really emphasize breathing and pitching. How do you go about breathing while you're pitching, and what's your advice back to the younger kids?
Yeah, I always take a good deep breath before I start pitching. Breathing's definitely important, helps you calm down. 100%.
I saw the Razorbacks are they're our team, and there's a pitcher named Zach Root. He came from East Carolina as a transfer lefty. He's got the biggest breath before every pitch you've ever seen. So I was able to take the video of that and then send it out to all the kids and say, "This is what I'm talking about." It didn't have to be. I've never seen anybody give him. He was like, but I mean, he's dynamite. I mean, he's Saturday starter. He's dynamite. But breathing's so important that especially just breathing at all and travel with all the oxygen sometimes being sucked out by the environment. It's important. How'd your high school tryout go? Well, pretty sure you were on a short list there with your talent, but how did that go? Did you feel you were going to make it? Just tell me a little bit about that. There's kids out there wondering if they're getting ready to get that in.
Yeah, it was good today. We had our first day today. We basically just started off stretching and then went into a scrimmage. All the guys are looking great. This season's going to be a special season.
So you're to Lake the West. You say special season. Are you going to be bold enough to put out a prediction on this, or are you just going to give me some coach speak?
I'm not a guy that likes to jinx myself. So
okay. Well, you got to practice for when you get into the college interviews. Everything is measured, and you say things along the line. So we're going to give it our best, and if we do, I think it's going to be. There you go. I just gave you. Yeah. Travel ball. Now we're in the. You made the high school team. You're on the high school team. You're a good player. You're going all over. I think this is where Jason. I want you to step in and tell a little bit. Now you're starting to really travel. You're taking some trips. You're investing your time, a lot of your time, and your money and everything else. But they've got to be wonderful experiences. Tell me from a dad's perspective, from a high-level player like your son, just tell me a little bit about what it was like and what it is like, where you're going, what's it like, what's your memories, what's your advice to other parents? Because there's some advice I know you can give too, because not all travel ball tournaments are equal, right? As far as what they say they provide. So let's just hear your take on, man, you've made the high school team, you're a stud, you're traveling regionally plus national now. Let's hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, overall, it's been an incredible experience, and I'll try to touch on each of those points, David. Looking back, Amy and I both entered this as novice, high-level sports parents, right? We knew we had something. We knew we had something in Luca for a while. He changed his path. Stella's doing great, but we had to learn pretty quickly. Once people started talking about Max and D1, and once we started seeing some rankings and seeing how well, the Crush did, and then the Crusaders, and then off to the national circuit, it's just, it's a commitment that you have to make pretty early, and you want to go into it with your head up, really. I was fortunate to have some guys that had Max's players had older brothers that had been on the circuit and traveled, and it's expensive, it's exhausting, but there's really no other experience like it. I sent you that picture of Max and I on the beach. He doesn't like that picture as much as I do, but the reason I sent that one is I've been to a million baseball games now, right? And they'll blur together. But some of those moments where I've had with either Max or Max's friends going to the beach, a new restaurant, just being stranded at the airport, we always figured out how to make it fun. And these boys always had a blast together. So it is unruly expensive. So try to be prepared for that as much as you can if you want to go and do that. But just understand that, when you're at those events, you're always on stage too, whether you're a parent, player, coach. That's why I said I started out as a bit more of an unruly sports parent, and I learned relatively quickly I needed just to sit down and shut up and take pictures, okay? There's scouts everywhere. There's people that you'll have heard their name and talk, all of a sudden you'll end up standing next to the guy or the lady. And, it's just like, you just want to be prepared for all the opportunities. Then you want to make sure that your player is as rested as can be, because when they're young, they always wanted to go to the pool and get exhausted.
Sure,
and now they're older, they want to just stay up and watch their phones and be exhausted. So to try to keep nutrition, hydration, and rest going on the road, we seem to do pretty good. I think we focus on it. We make it happen, essentially. But those are things that are going to be a key to success. But the biggest part is just go and have fun. Just have a real time. It's some of these games, David, that I've seen. I've seen high school, middle high school players play as an exciting game as any MLB or college game that I've seen. It is really incredible. And honestly, as far as it goes for organizations, we've been just incredibly thrilled with PG and incredibly thrilled with PBR. Max has some other opportunities coming up, but you know what? We do our showcase, in each camp, and we are fortunately the teams spread it out where Max and his teammates get exposure from all these different viewpoints. And at the end, you end up with your profiles and all of your stats and everything. And if you didn't have fun getting there, it wasn't worth the trip.
Oh, that's a great line. That's a great line, Jason. I like that. What's the one place that you go? I mean, you said the beach. The beach was awesome. What's one tournament that each of you remember the most, as far as maybe quality of other players there?
That's a good question.
That's for him.
Okay, that's for Max. I'm just wondering if there's some, because you guys talk, and hey, that guy's got to do that dude's going to Tennessee or what, whatever. There's one that sticks out where it was like just loaded with dudes.
Yeah, I mean, going to the national showcase in Atlanta is just insane. You'll see baseball players left and right, committed players left and right.
Dogs everywhere.
Yeah, it's
everywhere.
But it's great surrounding yourself with the great kids.
Yep.
It makes you really want to get it. So
yeah, there's one way to find out if you're good enough, isn't it?
You're right.
That's right.
Yeah. So, so what led to, I talked earlier, there's parents out there walking their 7, 9-year-olds in thinking, well, he may make the high school team, he may make college, he may, they're just, their minds are going everywhere either because they absolutely just love their kid and they want them to have the best or unfulfilled, dreams of their own, probably. But what, I guess I'm losing my mind here a little bit. I was asking a good question. I haven't done this on the podcast yet, so I kind of forgot where I was going. I apologize. But looking back, what's one thing you would tell yourself, Max, at that age that you wouldn't know now because you've turned into this great ball player, right?
Yeah.
You go back to a kid. What would you tell yourself?
Man, if I was a kid,
and you're talking to yourself, it's little Max, not big Max. You're little Max, and you're saying, "Hey, you're 9-year-old Max. Here's my advice to you."
I'd say once again, just keep having fun and keep thinking that it's just a game. And yeah, the results are important, but if you're thinking about that, it's not going to end well, or as you would like.
what I was just remembered what I was getting to in my previous question. That I'll apologize. A lot of parents think their kids are, have an opportunity. You realized you were going to have an opportunity. When that happened, and you realized colleges were interested, uh, what was the process to kind of go through schools? And we don't need a lot of detail. I don't even know what you can or can't talk about, but you chose Oklahoma State.
Yep.
What was that process like? Because there's going to be some parents who walk their kids into that first game, and they are going to be in the same situation as you. What advice would you give as far as being recruited and those kind of things?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of weight on your back, but you get used to it. I'd say the way I chose my school is I'm a big relationship type person. So I've been going to the Oklahoma State camps, getting to know the coaches, and we just formed a great relationship on my visit. And that's all you need to do is just form a great relationship with a coach that you are able to form a relationship with.
How
And
old
make
were
sure
you when
that's
you
what they
started?
look
How
for.
old were you, Max, when you started going to those camps?
I'd say I went to my first camp about August of maybe when I was like 14, I'd say.
Yeah, right before your freshman year.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, you were down there, showing off a little bit. You got to know them. Yeah, those
Mhm.
camps. It's funny. I've heard that. Actually, speaking to a person on staff at the Razorbacks, I was asking them about that process just several years ago because it was just conversational. And I had a nephew that was kind of halfway good. So I was asking, figuring stuff out. And he said, man, I really like the best when they come on campus because we really get to know them. We really get to see them for a couple of days. And he goes, man, tell your nephew I prefer that over chasing him around all the showcases. Now they have their places, and you got to show out. I understand all that, but that's interesting you said that because that's how they prefer to see kids as well. So find a
Yeah,
camp.
that camp process is very important, and I would encourage other parents to kind of pick and choose, kind of depending on your player and other people making references and stuff. You may or may not get an overwhelming amount of invites. Likely
Mm-hmm.
you will. Um, uh, it's just more or less try a few and get a feel for kind of what area, what kind of school you think you're going to want to go to, see how the kid feels there. I mean, there's creature comforts for all of us, and him being in Stillwater and us being in Kansas City, it's actually a decision factor. We really like that. But if he fell in love with Florida or North Dakota State, that's where we'd be going too. So do those camps. Don't expect much from the camps early on. Everybody expects that they're going to get a report card, and the camps sometimes don't even go the way that they're supposed to. Most of them are really well run, though. But once you do, make sure you send that thank you. And it just seems like the path kind of at least it kind of formed from us, from a lot of opportunities, and really quickly narrowed down to what, in an absolutely holistic way, was the best fit for Max. I mean, but you do have to put your work in, go show up, play hard, get a feel, get some local food, and go home and talk about it.
Yeah, Stillwater's a great town. I mean,
It's so great.
it's really a neat place, and we've been Razorbacks and Oklahoma State been having some. They came over for a scrimmage this year, a couple of them in the fall. I think it would make a lot of sense for them to play even more. But I've got familiarity there, and I actually went to a football camp when I was in high school there at Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
It's a great
awesome.
campus, a great campus, great school. I don't think you made a wrong decision at all. What do they do call the launch pad a little bit though? Are you nervous about pitching in a launch pad, or are you going to hold everybody down with your stuff? And we haven't talked about your stuff. We're going to hit that real quick before we end. So some parents are out there. Well, this kid's going to Oklahoma State. What are his numbers? What does he do? I mean, just tell us about your pitching game real quick. What you got, and tell the listeners.
Yeah, so I'm a right-handed pitcher. I have 3 pitches in my routine. I have a fastball, which is about 89 to about 92, top 93. Changeup about 80s, and then slider again about 78 to like 81.
Are you throwing a 4-seam or a 2-seam fastball?
4-seam.
4-seam, trying to keep it high and spin.
Yeah.
Do you care if you start, relief? I mean, what's your end goal? I know freshmen now, they have to just kind of buy their time, but what would be your ultimate goal in college? To be a starter, a reliever? Which side of that do you like the best?
Right. I would do both. Any of them would be great, but if I had to pick one, I would definitely choose starting. I like just being in control, having all the time before the game, and just really getting mentally ready.
What's your walkout song?
So,
NSFW.
so last year I did do by Big X the Plug.
Okay.
And I'm still looking for one for this year, so we'll see. See what I'm feeling.
That's one of mine and my son now's favorite thing to do is when the Razorbacks release the Sounds of Bomb. It's everyone's walk-up song or walkout song, and it's some of the stuff I got to look up because
Oh yeah.
some of it's classic, and then we got 3 Hawaiians on the team this year, so there's some reggae. It's a full fest over there. We do have a third baseman. He's from Australia, and we were all hoping he would choose Man Down Under, but he did. So, okay, this has been a good little journey. I don't think parents are crazy. I think they just want the best for their kids, and then comes with that is hope and dreams, and they dream themselves because my eldest daughter, she's not in sports, but I know she's into art, and I think the great thing she could do with art that's maybe not even realistic or very slim in numbers because parents just want the best for their kids, outside of a few jerks and travel while they're out there. It's just what we want for you and the trip that your parents gave you to this point and how you've embraced it and work. I've seen parents give everything and the kid don't care. That doesn't work either. So to have your story, you got parents who care, parents who sacrifice, and you sacrificed in your own way. And my God, you're a junior in high school on the D1 scholarship, and you're on a great high school baseball team. I saw you get excited about that. You still haven't told me where you're going to end up. I'm going to go state champion for the Lake to West Owls. I'm going to call it now.
Love to hear it.
I'll follow you. I'm going to follow you from now until you're done playing because baseball's about following players, not teams. I've always felt that way. Become a super big fan of you tonight, Max. Well-spoken young man, and I'm going to try to maybe we can get up and watch you too, but maybe that'll all coincide when we bring our travel team to Kansas City this year. Maybe we can all fix that. Yeah,
that'd be great.
I am going to hold you to come talk to my team because last tidbit for you. You make a difference in 10 and 11 and 12-year-old kids' lives already. I know you do. And don't forget that because all my boys look up to the kids. So, stay clean, do the right thing, keep working, and just really proud of you for reaching this. So, guys, if there's nothing else you want to talk about, I think we can wrap this up. But I'm so incredibly proud that you guys came on here because it's a story I think that needs to be told and people want to hear. I mean, like I said, they dream when they get out of the car with the first season. Maybe they can hear a little bit about what it took to get there. So, anything else from you guys before we head out tonight?
No, I just want to thank you. This has been a great time. I had so much fun.
Okay. Well, thanks again, guys. And for everyone else out there, we'll see you at the ballpark.
See ya.
Thanks, David.